Hi, I'm Caitlin Keeley, and I'm interviewing Dr. Green, the Director of Diversity and Inclusion at the Sage Colleges. I'm addressing the issue of racism in the Black Lives Matter movement and how informing others of racism will impact our society in the future. How are you doing today, Dr. Green?
I'm wonderful and excited to be with you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
So, do you think racism is so prominent in our society today?
Yes, it is prominent because it is historic. It is a part of the history of America.
Okay. Do you think racism is an acquired trait or a learned trait?
I think it's a learned trait. I don't think babies are born racist. The cute little Gerber babies and the cute babies on the planet, I think that people grow up and learn to do that.
Right,
Mhm.
okay. Do you think teaching about racism and inequality at earlier stages in life will change the way future generations see people of color?
Absolutely. And I think everyone should take a vested interest in teaching about cultural difference and not just the question of race and racism, because of course you want people to know what race is and the problem of racism, but the value of cultural difference and how we can use those deep and hard conversations around race and racial difference and racial diversity to create a better world for us to live in.
Okay, so in your recent essay, when you referred to Trayvon Martin's murder, you discussed how Alicia Garza did things with words. Do you think talking about racism and injustice frequently can promote the change that our society needs?
Yes, and I think we have to always talk about it frequently. You know how some people just feel like you just need to have one conversation or one diversity workshop or one class that's around diversity and race and racism and critical race theory and you're done. No, I think it needs to be an ongoing process, and I think that's what the movement is about. The movement for Black Lives, the Black Lives Matter movement, as it is formerly known, is about moving constantly with these critical conversations in mind.
Definitely, so you definitely support the movement.
I do. I think that I support the movement. I believe in the movement, much like I believed in the value of the civil rights movement, even though I wasn't born.
Yeah, right.
In the civil rights movement. But I do think that it did something for the country in terms of reigniting the question of racial inequalities and these disparities around social justice and criminal justice, and the need to think about how to reform this, how do we hold everyone accountable, but how do we not kill people?
Right.
Right, so.
Okay. So as a director of diversity, how do you promote diversity on campus?
In a number of ways, because as the director of diversity and inclusion, I work in faculty affairs, student affairs, human resources. So for students, I really try to have the diversity dialogue so that we can come together and think about hot topics. For faculty, I think about multicultural classrooms and pedagogies that respond to that. And in human resources, I think about policies that really uphold the importance of non-discrimination, gender equity in the workplace. I mean, there's so many different ways that I do this, and I do it with community affairs as well, like working with community partners and community organizations throughout the Capital District, both in Troy and Albany and the surrounding areas, to really think about diversity in a very multifaceted way, because it's just not one thing. I think people often think that diversity is about race, and it is historically, but it is about gender and sexuality and religion and ability, and economic justice and economic differences and access to healthcare and education. So yeah, that's what I do at Sage across those multiple and intersecting domains around faculty, staff, and human resources, student affairs. That's what I kind of do.
So you're definitely busy on and off campus.
Yeah, and I teach classes. So when I first arrived at Sage, I taught, my very first class was called Beyonce, Rihanna, and Nicki Minaj.
Oh, wow, okay.
Performing Black Feminism. Or was that the second class? And I taught Civil Rights and Black Power. I taught Critical Race Theory. In the fall, I teach Gender and Sexuality.
I know. I was looking into that class. I was.
So I teach a myriad of things too, right? I write policy around trans inclusiveness. I review policies for discrimination. I help the college move forward in strategic planning at the administrative level, talking about diversity plans for the college. So, yeah.
All right. Can addressing racism in smaller communities such as Sage affect larger communities in the future?
Yeah, because Sage is a part of the world when you leave here. Some people don't always go back home, and if they do, they can take these conversations and what they've learned, these tools for analysis and critical engagement, back to their communities wherever they're from. And some people like to travel the world, right? So we have people who get jobs internationally or wind up later in life moving or traveling for work to different countries, and hopefully they'll take a piece of Sage and what they learned with them, no matter what that major was, with them. So you can talk about scale and size and say it's a small school, but we can make a big impact because our students go off and do great things.
Right. And do you think racism will ever disappear? And what are some steps as we as a society can make in order to prevent racism?
I hope that we can eradicate racism in this world. Will that be in the next year, 5 or 20 years? I don't know. I just have hope that we will. And we do that by having conversation. We invite opposing viewpoints. We can't just have conversations with people who look like us, who think like us. We need to have conversations with people who don't always look like us and don't always share viewpoints. That could mean people who are Republican and Democrats and Independents and Green Party. It could mean people who value one news source over the other, whether it's Fox, people, CNN people, MSNBC, PBS. Like as long as we can really stay at the bottom. At the end of the day, no matter how we view ourselves, no matter what values we have, because we need to have values. I don't want you to just come and be me because I'm already taken. I don't want to be you because you're taken. But if we can harness those differences and really say your difference is valuable, right? And come together and have these conversations, that's one way we can do it. To say, what do we need out of this world? What do we need out of this moment? Out of this difference. And I think by having those conversations, appreciating the beauty of our differences, then we can hopefully one day in a million years, get to ending racism globally and in the U.S.
All right. Well, thank you for working with me, Dr. Green. I'd love to hear your point of view.